Hey guys, Master Beetle here, and I figured since I did start this channel as a Megacolony channel devoted to Megacolony content, I'd do, once again, my standard Megacolony deck. It has changed over the past few sets, just trying to keep up with the meta per se, but there's really nothing you can do. We haven't gotten our second wave of support, so you can't really compete with the new decks out of Wireless Deleter, let alone Miyagi Academy. But yeah, let's get down to it. So first off, starting with your grade 3s, you gotta play 4 of Spark. He's really your main target grade 3 ride. He's the guy you really want to ride first most and then keep riding just to get advantage. And then this guy, for your retire heavy matchups, this is the guy you always want to see. That's why I opted to run it back at 4 instead of 3 like I used to. This helps you mitigate their games against Murakami, Shadow Paladin, even though Shadow Paladin is still a losing matchup just because they gain so much advantage. And Murakami, Shadow Paladin, and Kagero, this really helps you against retire heavy matchups, like I said. You really want to see this card. If you don't see this card against Shadow Paladin and Murakami, the game becomes very hard for you to win. And then for the final grade 3, we're playing 2 of Antlion. Antlion is just a necessity nowadays, just because how powerful and strong most of these meta decks are. You can't afford to run Hell's Demise anymore. Hell's Demise widely doesn't matter against most decks. They could either spit out new rear guards, or the boost made little insignificance of a difference against most top tier competitive decks. So that's why I'm opting to run the Antlion build once again. And yeah, it's basically like the way the deck plays is it's basically you have to try and get them before they get you. And that's sad to say, but like that's just the way Megacolony plays right now. So you play 4 of Machining Mantis, one of your good grade 2 ride targets, or like rear guards, just to try and get those 3s that you need. Especially good against the Deleter matchup. That's really the only deck you're good against in Violus, Deleter. You pretty much go 50-50 DIs, and then Pale Moon's still a bad matchup for you overall. And then Shadows is like still overall a bad matchup for you. Don't forget Murakumo too. And then you're running 4 of Bloody Hercules. He's your countercharger, a beater. You want to run this at 4. And then running 3 of Water Gang. Water Gang is your only draw power in the deck. I run him at 3. You don't want to run him at 4 because you don't want to see him too often. If you have 1 is usually all you need. You can flex and use 2, but it's just using up a lot of resources to get the draw off. On to grade 1s. Play 4 of Butterfly Officer. She's one of your main counterchargers in the deck, so you always have to max out at 4 just because Spark is such a heavy cost. And then you have Mantis that counterblasts in this deck too, so you want to consistently use Spark every turn. So yeah, Officer's just really good. Give rest, give something 10k power, and then shove it to the soul at the end and countercharge 1. Really good in conjunction with Antlion, saying if you're playing against Murakumo, you could call a grade 3 rear guard like my boy over here, pump it up, swing, end the turn, shove it into soul, and then next turn you can Antlion even though you weren't able to rewrite against Murakumo. So yeah, that's just a little tech move you can do, I guess, against Muras. It's still really a bad matchup just because it's an Excel deck. Playing 4 of my boy, Spiteful Hopper. Spiteful Hopper's skill is on rear guard, Soul Blast 1, give a unit +6, and if you have no face-up damage, countercharge 1. They're really good in early stages of the game to combo out with Mantis. And in mid to late game, when you really are doing it, what I'm trying to say is that it's really good when you use Butterfly and Hopper in conjunction. When you CB2, you have no face-up damage, you Hopper and Butterfly, and then you have 2 face-up damage for your next plays. That's what I'm trying to say. And then for the last of the grade 1s, I'm running 12. I actually have cut my machining Hornet down to 2. And I know what y'all are thinking, why would you do that? That cuts down the consistency of the deck. You run 10 grade 3s, the deck is consistent as it is, and I needed to make room for another card that's largely needed in the deck. Still a good ride and boost, but it's largely not really needed for the deck. You would rather have it as shield in hand. And now I'm playing 2 Phantom Black. At first I thought Phantom Black was really not that useful in Standard at all, but further testing, Phantom Black helps you win games with Antline against these new decks. Because you can swing with Antline, supported by Phantom Black. Now they can only use zeros against your attacking unit that's swinging in for 2 crit, and that's your basic win condition of the deck. Besides, if they're not a protect deck, then besides swinging large with Spark because of his secondary ability, this is largely what's going to win you the game. That little combo. Obviously, this is a standard. You have to run the starter, and I'm running 7 crit. Just because the way this deck functions, you want to end out the game as fast as possible. But you still need that extra oomph of a draw. So playing 5 draws just because the discard for Antline is very heavy. For the most part, you don't want to use it unless you are certain I need to Antline this turn to win the game or I lose on the next turn anyway. Then obviously 4 heal. Yeah, so that's my Megacolony deck, guys. Like I said, bad matchups are really just Shadows, Pale Moon, Murakumo, Angel Feather, just because they heal so much and they get so many protects to hand. They're always going to be at low damage, and the only way you really win against Angel Feather is if you go first and rush them really hard. But besides that, other decks that you really go 50-50 against is you go 50-50 against Murakami for the most part if you see at least 1 or 2 of this guy. You go 50-50 against Neo Nectars because they make big lines, but you also make big lines and they don't have access to PGs. And the 50-50, well, you win the deleter matchup if it's the regular rush deleter build that doesn't focus on binding. But if it's the control deleter builds, you go 50-50 against that deck too, just because we really hate having all our boys killed. And then final thoughts for the deck. Honestly, guys, I would say that Megacolony right now is not a good pick just because the current meta we're in is Excel, and all the force decks that counter Excel just gain too much advantage against you in the early to mid-late stages of the game. But it might be a good pick once we go to Bermuda Triangle meta, once that set comes out, just because this is a protect deck against force. So it might be a good pick then. I doubt it highly, but you can give it a try. I certainly will give it a try. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. This is Master Beetle, and let me know if you guys want to see a match against this deck and watch it get trounced. Peace.